Padova, Italy, hosting the European Youth Ultimate Championships 2023, and we are going to bring you a matchup from the Open Division. It's the French versus the Belgians, 4th and 5th seed respectively, here in Pool B, early stages of the tournament. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, alongside Harry Mason. You've gone back to some more jazzy look for your commentary. I've been seeing you out here on the field site, Harry. A real subtle look for your coaching, fashion-wise, for you.
You'll be delighted it's due to the nuances of capitalism. Our team is sponsored by Lookfly. Very well done. I do like their gear, but they are tracksuit pants, very good quality, but they are a bit more for winter. And so, you know, if it's late in the day, I don't mind it, but I've changed into a bit of more my cool gear and their tank top as well.
Oh no, absolutely. It's lovely to see you back in your full Technicolor self, Harry.
I do feel more myself.
Of course, both of these teams coming out in more muted affairs than Mr. Mason to my right. The French will be playing in their white jerseys and the Belgians in their black and gold. Of course, gold has been a theme so far for the Belgian seniors program at the European Championship level. They were silver medalists at the under-24s division. Let's see if they can have similar success here in the youth under-20s. Of course, massive shout out to Georges Donnet, who is watching this from his hospital bed. The Belgians having to recover mentally from that serious injury. There is an update though for folks that are uninformed. Georges, I believe, has a clean break in terms of his recovery path from that injury. So massive shout out to you, Georges. Big love from all of your teammates here, your coaches, and of course from all of our ULTI.TV crew.
I'm not a doctor of medicine, but I am a doctor of something, and so I say best of luck to George, but the on-field diagnosis is we're in for a good game.
Welcome to the Punderdome, folks. That's one of the key things of all of Mason's commentary, but it's a delight to have you alongside with us, Harry, stepping out of your coaching shoes and into our booth.
It's nice to see the pressure on someone else for a change.
Well, in terms of expectations, of course, the seeding difference is marginal in the kind of coming into this pool stage. At the moment, though, it's the French in the top spot of Pool B. They are 4 for 4, as yet undefeated in this European Youth Ultimate Championships. The Belgians have had a mixed bag of results, 2 wins and 2 losses, current goal difference of -4. So we are expecting the French to perhaps cruise through this one a little bit more smoothly.
Yeah, I think if you're tuning into this as a neutral, hello, it's lovely to have you. And if you want to root for the underdog, you might want to get cheering on the Belgians in chat, because we know certainly that Georges is cheering them on. And so any extra voices we would love to see as well. On the other hand, if you're from France, what I'm saying is very much against the grain. And so if you can drown out all of those, it's on you as well.
Well, certainly we'll have plenty of French fans, having just watched their women's team defeat the Italians with quite the big scoreline. I think it was 15-9, the final result in that game. But what's going to be the score on the board at the end of this one, we'll find out soon enough as the Belgians start out on offense. Gernard centering that one to Eclarts. Attempt at the layout bid from the defender, but just a simple vertical stack, nearly a bit of traffic collision. To Gernard, taking control early doors. Panemans now. Just relatively slow pace starting off this Belgian offense. De Force. Back into the hands of Gernard. It's really nice patience from the Belgians. Panemans now. The lefty hammer arcing across onto the soft side of the field. And Jelle Eclarts with the goal for the Belgians. A clean hold to get us underway.
I mean, I want to add something here, but I think you said it, Hanny. Nice and simple for the Belgians with the lefty hammer. You know, if you've got it in the locker, that's an easy break throw.
It really is a great way to open up that offside of the field. Of course, no offside rule for you soccer fans, just talking about the side that the defense is trying to prevent the throws from going to. And that is a really lovely execution. It's a thrower's breeze, if anything, out here on the fields in Padova. Not really much wind for the majority, but it does gust up every so often, keeping things a little bit interesting.
Yeah, I think a little bit it has been. On previous days, the disc has been dying on some of those roll curves in the air a little bit early, whereas I got out today, started throwing just to test out the breeze so I could let my team know what the situation was, and every disc was just floating so nicely. We could see some really nice long puts. They're going to have to be aware of that danger throughout this game. It's 1-0 to the Belgians.
It absolutely is. An easy start, you might say. Just real patience and poise from the Belgians. So what is this first possession for the French O-line going to look like? Horizontal stack, the offensive choice against a zone look from the Belgians. So clearly looking to keep the pass tally high. Oh, I think, unfortunately, with the recatch, the back of Quentin Péchard was actually on the line and ergo out when that was caught.
He tries to shoulder the catch for his team, but sadly, I think that shoulder is on the line.
Well, the call resolved on the field. And the little hand clap from Emile Willems, of course, being coached by his older brother, Mathieu, one of the two coaches for the Belgian side. Oh, and the break opportunity is taken away with the fluster of the shirt of Thomas Chevauché. Very great attention. And now we see the disc rapidly moving laterally as the Belgians try and re-establish their zone. To be or is it? No, it's just a slightly different zone, more passive. So the French happy to just pop it between each other. Now reaching across, Boulieu. Leading up line. Well kept in bounds, good footwork. Now the French really finding themselves in great space. Good possession. And a little layout just to finish it off. It was really good flow from the French open side. And it's for the number 17 with the score, Quentin Péchard, who we actually was tipped by the coaches of the French outfit, Harry, of being one of their defensive stars.
I mean, I've had my time as Ultimate where I've been a defensive star, and that means my job was to catch it in the end zone.
That's true, especially if it's the other team trying to throw.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Either end zone will do in that case, but here we can see the D does hang in the air a little bit, and he's saying with that wind that might happen, but France very aware and able to deal with it before there's any second bids.
Yeah, it was a really nice kickoff from Thomas Chevauché. Of course, he's been playing for 4 years. He's a student, but his club is the RFO, the Flying Oysters. Currently residing in Saint-Martin-de-Ré, which is an enviable part of the world to be living in.
Yes?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're here in beautiful Italy right now, and...
Yeah, but there's no sea here, Mason. There's no sea, and that for me is something that I cannot live without personally. But you're quite right. A good correction of, well, a good challenge to perhaps snubbing Padova a little bit. But of course, it is so hot here in Padova. We do get a break in the day so that teams can chill out. So easy swinging across the back. A low release that just gets stone cold dropped in the center of the pitch, and a short field opportunity for the French. This is the dream if you're a D-line, getting that kind of easy one. Ripped out from the sky, and a lefty backhand into the end zone. The assist for Axel Charrier after making that very feisty grab over his head on the high disc.
It's interesting so far, I don't think the defense has necessarily been super tight either way. What we've instead seen is a few unforced errors that come with it's your first game, it's quite hot, and there is a little bit of a wind that can catch you off guard as well. I think if either team can clean those up early or can step up the defense to really get the intensity there, they're going to be in a real advantage for the rest of this game. But whichever team can manage it first, this game's very much still in the balance.
Well, that's just the one break of score so far, so still very early days. Our scoreboard's a little bit behind. It is 2-1 to the French rather than 1-0 to the Belgians. We'll get that fixed for you.
The Belgians may want to roll back time a little bit here, but they're going to have to face the task they've got. And here you can see live technical wizardry.
Just getting indeed our live scoreboard sorted for you. Massive shout to all of the volunteer scorekeepers who are keeping the results website flush, but of course, Elia, our own stats person for ULTI.TV.
It is very useful. I've certainly had a look at the stats after our games that have been on stream.
Oh yeah, and we get some real depth, even beyond what we show you folks at home. It makes us sound very intelligent. Oh, but a misread on that one, Staf de Krane. But yes, there is another de Krane brother. But I think they're 3 for 4 in terms of ultimate players.
Oh, what does the other one do?
That's a good question, Mason. We're going to have to find out from the chat, I think, because I'm not sure. But I'm sure he does something athletic. Lamar. All the way around to Aku. This is a second break opportunity for the French. Not seen the Belgians be able to turn them back over yet. And those inside breaks really doing damage. That one, a lot of air underneath it. It's a battle, but clearly one goes up nice and early. Does Joseph Delachat. So a timeout being called by the Belgians after that rapid pace. They're really committing to the around on the stopping the kind of breaks here, Harry, but the inside break shots from the French are absolutely beautiful, and they are used to dynamic effect.
It was actually a little bit interesting earlier in that play. I actually saw the start of that cut develop, and it was Apau Desmay who was the initial mark for the Belgians. He'd already switched once to stay on a handler, and I was a little bit intrigued. Is that because he really wants to stay a handler mark? And then again, kind of let the scorer go, and it wasn't quite picked up as it went further down the field. And so maybe the Belgians, it's not quite working with their switches, or there's certain players they don't want on those upfield matchups as well. I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm going to try and keep an eye on that as we go.
All right, well, we'll see how this develops, though. The players taking a timeout on the field. We will take a brief break, too, as the French currently in the lead by 2 breaks, 3-1 over the Belgians.
Yes, he will.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our
our
work
work.
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the ultimate world and beyond.
First half action, a timeout being taken by Belgium, unsurprisingly trailing 2 breaks on the bounce for the French. It's all been about holding onto the disc for a length of time. A little bit longer, I think, probably for this Belgian O-line. They did an exceptionally good job in the first point, but since then it's been about giving the disc up a little bit too early.
Yeah, just throwing a little bit too high or a little bit too far, or even just, I think, one that was just a drop without anything really bad with the throw. France had 2 players, and 2 is bigger than 1.
Well, there was we had an interview, which if you've not watched, we recommend doing so, with the Belgian Open team ahead of their performance at the European Ultimate Championships a couple of weeks ago. And Landa de Crano was saying that Tobe is so good in the air because Landa's always been taller. So maybe they need to maybe spend a bit more time with Staff, you know, trying to get him to be able to best sandwiching defenders.
They always say you can't teach tall, but there's definitely aspects of tall you can teach.
Yeah, we were delighted to have that long-form interview with the Belgian Open team, but that is a long disc with a... I'm going to call that a gratuitous layout score, but I loved it.
Maybe it was just to ensure that he was past the line and definitely in the end zone. You can't teach tall, but you can teach long, and he was just sort of showing the opposition, hey, I've got this if I need it. And did I need it there?
Well, 185 centimetres tall is Quentin Pechard, who we saw just reel in that beautiful deep shot. Let's look at the setup. So not really the lengthiest athlete, but maybe just had so much momentum he couldn't stop himself. But a lovely throw from the 21, Clément Priot, one of the players to watch, as noted by the 2 coaches, of course, Cédric Tressard and Jean-Marc Roca, not captaining, coaching this French under-20s open side. Of course, but a little bit too old to be playing in the under-20s division, those 2 lads.
You can't tempt us like that. Everyone knows that there's a lot of coaches here that would deeply like to be captaining as well.
It's always quite nice as a elder statesman myself. It's fun playing club level with a lot of younger athletes that you can be like, yes, you do this. It's like almost like, I'm sure Jordanet, watching his team at the moment, will be having his sort of like PlayStation or whichever platform of choice controller out, sort of trying to marshal his team around from his hospital bed. High ball into the air, again snaffled up by the defense. That's a really good positioning from the number 91. Of course, that's Erwan Paré. Oh, but that one slips out of the fingers. Bit of a quirky release, perhaps, but could not recover. Gilbert does everything in his capabilities, but it's just not quite enough. So the Belgians will reobtain possession. Oh, that's a lovely flick from the left hand. Wolf Panemans. And I think someone's brought a drum to the sideline. There's a big old Belgian sideline to our left.
Yeah, it's a hint of percussion in the air, trying to get the beat going. And yeah, I would have to say the Belgian long balls have not been working so far. They've been putting out some discs from quite a long way across the field, whereas the things that have been working is get close to the end zone and then put it out into space ahead of the receiver to run onto, rather than trying to compete in the sky, compete with your legs. And will Belgium work that out, or are they going to keep playing that game, take the yards, and then back on the defense to get them a turn and a net gain?
Well, it was a really great defensive play. Unfortunately, the squandered opportunity for the French D-line, but they have been pretty ruthless. 3 clean breaks in a row before that hold for the Belgians. What do you think of that play? They're set up for the lefty flick from Panemans.
I mean, if you know what your player has got, you better go for it. One of the whole things that can separate countries is how much you're able to train. And that's country size versus also like talent in the country, and those 2 elements will always come together. And if you're able to develop that chemistry, you're going to have a good time.
Absolutely, and that has been key for the Belgian programs in general. Of course, it's a small nation geographically with a large ultimate playing community. Of course, we just had the Belgian Championships happen. Congratulations to the Mooncatchers for their win, which will surprise not really anybody. They've been, I think they've won every single tournament they've played so far this season. Looking forward to seeing them later on, of course, in Wrocław, which they've qualified for. And many of these French players, of course, also coming up and a cluster of really talented French sides, which we saw earlier on this season at the beach level, certainly doing some real damage. And that one almost looked like it was just a non-scoring pass, reeled in beautifully by Joseph Delachat, but the smooth flow of this French Open side is just, it's like a waterfall cascading on a beautiful hike.
Some great language right there. I feel like you often as a coach say a pass to the end zone is like any other pass. You know, you don't want it to be stressful. I don't know if it's supposed to be that much like any other pass.
And that's how it felt though, didn't it? It was just in flow, in stride, just another day at the office, and a sort of, you know, a muted celebration because it was so facile.
It's almost the most insulting thing you can do is to not celebrate at all. Just to be like, yeah, this is how we do it.
Well, but then a lot, of course, this French Open side are those silver medalists from joint juniors last season. So Delachat, of course, reeling that one in, a high jump for a fairly easy clap catch, just making sure, using the body to keep the disc well protected. Says that his career highlight so far was his 2 skies during that JJUC final against the USA, who, of course, eventually went on to win.
It's annoying how the USA do that.
Yeah, we'll get him. Give it time, give it time. And certainly there have been some of their teammates, actually. Urbain Parvé, number 91 for the French. He's been playing for 10 years and he's 16, so you do the math there. The future is coming, USA. So, the Belgians on the attack.
He was 6.
Pardon?
That means he was 6. I did the maths.
Yeah.
Just took a while.
Subtract 10. Seems like it could be easy maths, but apparently not. Oh, but that's a missed opportunity. Nice idea in the centre field, but 2 players very close to each other, and Epodesme, unfortunately, unable to get his paws around the disc. Did have a good go at it, though. Just a difficult one for the thrower to execute with 2 players quite close together. A little bit of double teaming from Wolf Panamans there, and the pressure from the force might be a foul called. That one just thrown immediately into the ground.
Ooh.
Foot block.
Foot blocks are never fouls. We know this, but we have to check in this instance whether it hit ankle or not, and you know, it's always a nuance.
No. There definitely can still be fouls. I think what you're looking for, Hazard, is the rule that everybody wants, which is if it was cool, it should stand.
Yes, I'll tell you about one of my ideal rule preferences after we get to this. So I think this is an interesting thing to see.
Well, a contested foul is the resolution on the field.
We are going replay as the French is showing us at the top.
Well, everyone else is playing on, so we're going to have to go back into live action. Although that was indeed a great attempt at the foot block from Wolf Panamans. Far sideline, Martin looking for options, easy distribution. And that one, a beautiful sky ball that's going to be taken away by the defense. That looks like that was the number 4, Turkenart.
I think that's big for the Belgians. I think that's one of the first Ds they've actively earned, and whether you're thinking that's from the foot block or from the later grab, it's definitely showing the Belgians are starting to step up and show the French they need to work for this.
Well, even if your defensive block gets called back on a foul, as long as you're playing sort of, you know, fairly within the rules rather than going for anything sort of untoward in levels of contact, when it's a fair discussion like that one was, it's still that putting that pressure on, knowing that you're there, you know, my foot knows exactly where you want to release the disc. And it was a great block in the air from Turkenart. 17-year-old, of course, of Frisbee's fame. Big shout out to all the crew in Bruges. Of course, hosts of the wonderful Tom's Tourney, one of our favourite tournaments to go and cover as ULTI.TV. But an overthrow is going to give possession back to the French with a couple of meters to go. Seeing things a little bit clustered, a little bit hesitant from this Belgian D-line when they have the disc. High reacher, but well kept, and immediately throwing to the goal. There's a little bit of a collision and a discussion immediately from the floor. But Ganaf is going to help the French player off of the floor. Martin just being shut out. This is great attack on defense.
And I think the Belgian player does come across ahead of the player, and the French player was very quick, like, no foul, just maybe a bit annoyed with himself.
Well, there's a little bit of I think a little bit of a touch on the way through, but certainly had the space to do it and managed to escape through without any sort of injury-making contact. So Panemans shoots into the centre of the pitch. A little bit of a wobble from Jelle Eclarts. Slide for Gnart. Putting himself all over this point. Now to De Crane. Back to Gnart. Oh, that's a really nice option. A little bit too much contact underneath it. I'm not sure if that was catchable. It did look quite high from my angle. Harry?
It definitely floated a fair bit too, and if you're taken down like that, you're normally going to say that, yes, I could have got it. He is trailing here, and I think he's taken before he gets to make that turn and know what his acceleration would be. On the other hand, he does seem to accept it was just a bit too high, and so I think an acknowledgement of the foul, but also an acknowledgement that it would not change the outcome of the play.
That is mature spirit of the game at work, folks. We love to see it. Yes, there was contact, a little bit too much touching underneath as both players tussled for it. But as you say, Harry, it didn't affect that throw. Not picture perfect. Again, the Belgians throwing a little bit too loose towards the end zone. It's a nice flat left. I'll tell you what, there's a flurry of lefties on this French side. We don't talk a lot about how that will make a huge difference, but Panemans, there's a stall out call, but it's a turnover regardless, so it's going to be retracted.
It makes sense. You gain yards from the retraction.
They're not retract the stall. That one's very, very tight window indeed to Eclarts. But it's going to be an upline cut into the end zone, and that is a hold for the Belgians. But it took quite a while to get there, Harry.
Again, they tried a couple of long balls, trying to compete on height, and I think in that instance it was a foul, but the disc was still too far. Whereas when they worked it up a little bit and then they threw into space and used their speed, they were able to get that, and honestly, quite a nice score despite the German pressure that we saw there, laying out on the bids, making sure they know it needs to be big, but...
You mean the French pressure?
Sorry, the French pressure.
Sorry, it just made me giggle because it's the, of course, the Belgian flag has the same colours in it as the German, similar sort of kit vibes occasionally, but certainly the vibes here in Padova, as you see from that long shot, are absolutely glorious. What's been your favourite part of the tournament in terms of the organisation, Harry, so far?
Mainly that I haven't had to be doing any of it, if I'm perfectly honest. We have a team manager, Moy, who's been absolutely fantastic for us. But it has been nice just to come, see all the pitches so close, see how many streamed pitches there are, for one thing, because it means we have a lot of footage. These players get to watch themselves back at this early stage of their career.
Indeed, because we've not just got this one with the full fat coverage of, you know, commentary and everything and multiple camera views. Of course, there's the 2 VO cameras, those AI-powered gubbins that look a little bit frog-like. Can we say that?
A little bit, but then I also want to shout out the volunteers who've just been fantastic this entire time.
Oh, they always are, and we love to have them. That one is going to go well out of bounds, though. A rare turnover. I don't think we can really call it unforced either from the French. The Belgians have been playing some very intense match defense. They started out the game coming out with a zone, and I think the change to kind of go person to person and really try and just stay close, stay tight, use the athleticism is paying off some pretty good dividends. But can the Belgians do anything with it? Currently down 3 breaks against the French.
On the other hand, if they get this, do the maths, it takes them to 5-4, which is a real game. So this is really important for the Belgians.
It certainly is. To Slova. Oh, what a layout grab that was, Peter Jan de Vos. Little racy one. Nice snag for Willems, who throws immediately deep. There is separation. Oh, but just shy of the grab. Such a shame. There's a chat about whether there was contact on it.
Again, the Belgians with some really nice play, doing some huge grabs right in front of the camera and then throwing another long ball.
Well, the difference, I suppose, on this one, Harry, is that if that comes off, there is perhaps a little bit of a push from the defender in the back that maybe stops there from being the full sort of height obtained.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. If it does come off, he does have separation. They're getting some separation upfield.
But it's also what that does to your spirits and your mentality, especially for a D-line break.
That's true.
I got distracted by the replay.
It's a quite distracting replay.
It's a great shot. Massive shout out to all of our camera ops out here in the sun in Padova. If you want to make sure that they get enough sunscreen budget, you can consider becoming a patron if you're not already. But a contested foul, we'll see that one come back. I think that's a fair resolution. It was a racy shot out of the hands of Willems.
Do you share my opinion here that if there is something like this where it's a close contest, they should be made throw the exact same throw again?
No.
Oh.
It happens with enough regularity anyway. But this time it's a much more conservative pass to Blaton. But it throws, again, an ambitious shot. That inside break is a very difficult channel because the French forces are really rather flat, trying to make the Belgians take on the around. Oh, what a great attempt that was from all of the players on the field. I think the little flash from Willems just put off, perhaps, the number 64 for the French, Alexandre Monus. So the Belgians with the full stretch to go after that lead pass didn't quite work out. Turn around on the far side. De Vos. That's much better separation for the inside break. The French seem to be forcing the Belgians under a little bit. If anything, I think that's probably the wrong way to go based on the other one so far. Can he redeem it? No, it's just popped out like a piece of toast in the morning from the hands of Thibaut Blaton.
He needs a bit more pop on that chest just to let it sit in the air more if that does happen, but not quite able to get the reach.
It's a great attempt from both players to try and redeem it. But just a real shame. That was really good flow from the Belgian side. Underneath Uvanojo. Looking around for options. Big poach off of Charrière. Good flop to receive possession. Snuggerneck throws the assist, and that was again just very smooth, calm, and they seem to have every colour. I'm not sure anyone's dyed their hair black, but we've got red and yellow. But yeah, there you go. And indeed, the marriage proposal backhand, I think.
Oh, there has to be a name for a marriage proposal assist.
The fiancé.
The fiancé, I love that.
When you throw from one knee. But yeah, Erwan Paré, as we already mentioned, he's been playing since he was 6 years old, originally from China, from Guangzhou, currently residing in Blois over in France. He's a student, as of course many, pretty much all of the athletes are here at the under-20s division.
We've got, I would say, less than half of our team, actually. I think the majority are staying at A-level or even down to GCSE level.
No, they're all students.
Oh.
They're all students.
Oh, true. I tend to think of student just as university rather than
high school and
high
below.
School,
yeah, no, they're all students. They're all their time is occupied with studies.
I mean, is it really though?
as those of us who've emerged out of studentdom, yeah, it's a lovely life, I have to say.
That's a risky pull that is out of bounds the entire way until the final corner of the end zone.
Absolutely, but beautiful form, and it puts the Belgians deep into their own territory, although they escape through nicely against the French zone. I think the choice of zone actually might favour the Belgians. Oh no, I say that. They throw an ambitious one, trying to go through the cup, and it's picked off by Louis.
Well, they get through the cup, but they try to get through the mids as well, and it's a long way to go for a flat low disc.
Absolutely, and we still have this thrower's breeze, so the shots are available over the top for something a little bit more slicey and dicey, but a nice initial setup for the French. Brichet, the number 72, getting that one started, but it's going to be bookends for Simon Louis.
Got to say now that France are in control. You know, you've got to think the Belgians are looking back to that time. It was 5-3. They had the disc. Could have been shooting forward. Now it's 7-3. We are in a different game, and the Belgians need to get themselves together. Put this final one in.
Yep. But there is, I think, probably a little bit of an edge of more experience for the French side. We talked about, of course, their silver medal at Joint Juniors last year. But there's a little bit of other experience. So Melvin Brichet, the number 72, who started off that sort of set play when there was a turnover for the French. He's 19-year-old, currently in Montreal, and plays for the AUDL. Which is
good place to be.
Yeah.
I remember going to Montreal, actually having a little look at the ultimate scene there, just in case I could do some local pickup. There were 5 or 6 leagues just in that city alone. It was, and if you grow up in a place like that, you're going to benefit.
So his sporting hero, of course, is Gaël Lancelot. And salut to Gaël if you're watching this one. Of course, a player who many people try and emulate. But right now, the Belgians looking to keep this first half alive. Almost looked like that left the hands of Ellwood this May. Of course, you're not allowed to throw it to yourself.
Sadly.
Bernard coming through. Good setup of the handler movement for Panamans. Oh, I just love that little cheeky release, quick. Over the head of the mark. De Force. Over to Guinard. A little bit low, but easy enough. And pop straight back. A hammer opens up again, but that's going to have to come back on a travel. Everyone else stood like statues on this far side of the field. A really nice option.
Yeah, I mean, might still do a bit of confidence for Belgium to be like, oh, okay, it's possible. We just need to do that again. But everyone had stopped for France. It'd been very clear. So even if there is a contest or anything like that, it will go back a couple of passes.
Well, they'll have a chat about the travel. I think it was possibly off of the pass from Ellwood Desmet, which not sure I necessarily saw that one, but let's have a look back. So we had Guinard to Desmet. And that goes there. Oh. Well,
So
it certainly impacted after everyone on that side of the field had stopped, but it's whether or not it impacts this.
yeah, so I think number 14 did travel a little bit, but I don't think it impacted play. I think it was the one before the throw and go. It's tight margin to call, certainly.
Well, it has gone back in with the rules. Bit of a shame there. I think, as you say, there was a little bit of the sort of stutter shuffle, that kind of like a almost trot that you see a lot of beginners do when they first start playing, where you sort of move the weight between one and the other leg before you learn to glue yourself down. But a big hammer over the top, and this time it pays off again. Well, I'll tell you what. Clearly, Harry, the key is for this Belgian side, they need to throw upside down.
Yeah, I'm sitting here next to the stat man, and he's looking great, and I believe every hammer has been scored by Belgium so far. You know.
Yep, 100% hammer conversion, 100%.
That's just part of our typical stats at this point, I assume.
I mean, to be honest, though, it is the thing of actually, I think if you're a fan of the Belgian nation, you wouldn't be surprised to see the hammers working pretty much every time.
Yeah, they pretty much got the hammers nailed on at this point. Here's the thing now, though. It's 7-4. It's going to be such a big difference if you can get 1 or 2 points here. how you go into that second half, the mentality you come in with it as, it's going to be very important. And so if the Belgian D-line can pull out something here, maybe they try something a bit different. There's not a lot of time to do a big switch in defensive play, but just a small switch or two to catch the French off guard. Maybe it will yield dividends.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, you know, your strategies, maybe you'd go for kind of an untraditional force. You know, they've been generating turnovers more consistently when they're playing tight match coverage. So maybe you go for a force middle, maybe you go for a force line, or maybe just change the force every 3 passes, some kind of metric like that, as you say, a small adjustment to try and catch the French O-line off guard, because they haven't been completely picture perfect. They have had 2 points so far this game where they have given break opportunities to the Belgians. Inside, hammer shot! Say cannon shot even, didn't mean to say hammer, just so used to saying it with the Belgians, but Willems picks it off. Now picked up by De Slovo. Initial swing to the far sideline as the Belgian sideline gets the bubbles involved. But can they pop one back on the scoreboard? It just sneaks around the back of Arsenal Letelier. Very strange. That's what you do get in these youth divisions, is expect the unexpected, folks. It could all happen. Munoz, centering pass, Caudron. Looking for the reset. Paré on the far side. Oh, and there's a hammer of their own. Just about escapes the claws of the defense, and that indeed will be half for double score lines. France 8, Belgium 4.
I mean, that's a statement to make for the French. They see how the Belgian are doing. We're studying you and saying, like, you're not safe. We can do it too.
Well, we are getting an aerial overhead display in this pool stages game, of course. The French, as yet undefeated in the tournament, they are 4 for 4 and looking in fine form indeed. We're going to take a break in the booth here for half-time alongside the athletes under the hot Padova sun, but don't go anywhere, folks. It can all change in the second half as the French lead 8-4.
We live in a world where everything can be referenced online. Imagine if the greatest moments in our sport were never filmed. Eurodisc continues to do what it takes to make free-to-watch live streams a reality. Let's leave nothing to the imagination. We'll consume the action live, and we'll support those that help to make it happen. If it wasn't streamed, it didn't happen. Eurodisc.
Oh my! Somehow they do it! Come on, Brad!
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
welcome back to Padova European Youth Ultimate Championships 2023, Pool B in the Open Division, and we have the undefeated French at 8 points, and the Belgians, who've had a mixed result, 2 wins, 2 losses so far for their 4 games, at 4. So 4 is the number of choice for the Belgians at the moment, but they'll hope to punch on many more in their scorecard. They have gotten really close with a lot of their possessions, Harry.
They have done indeed, and I think the main difference is just how clean the French have been. And in the last few points, the Belgians have definitely tried to step up the pressure to make it harder for the French, but so far the French are able to just take those higher percentage shots into the end zone. And aside from the Belgian hammers, which have been very high percentage indeed, they have been trying a little bit to take the risky shot, get the quick score, that instant, you know, dopamine from getting things quickly and just thinking things are done, but they need to work it the hard way if they're going to break down this French team.
There have been moments, though, where the Belgians have chosen to go for, as you say, the more difficult option, the higher number of passes being required. But there have been miscues and slips on some of the resets. There was a really strange moment where actually the disc went around sort of the back of the defender when Arslan Letelier was on the mark. Sorry, not the mark, other than the hand of defending space. So it's been a case of, you know, real great attempts, some varying choices, I think, from the Belgians. Of course, that first point was a real statement piece. They put together quite the high pass tally. There was 13 passes required for that first offensive clean hold. But since then, there have been some stumbles, and I think the French have really been good at capitalizing on it. I have to say, the standout thing, I think, for the French, apart from obviously just the smoothness and their connections, is the speed and pace with which they've been moving the disc. They don't hold on for a very long time. They're very good at quickly moving and taking the next option. Their connections and their timing has been very, very good.
Yeah, and that's going to put off the defense. Like, if you're upfield, you're marking someone, ideally, I can take one glance, know what's happening upfield, and then just focus on my player. Whereas if the disc is constantly moving, I'm having to constantly readjust, and that's mental energy I can't spend on watching my player and where they're going next.
Absolutely. But there has been one thing I think the Belgians have done really well in terms of their adjustments on defense, and that is their force. They have been doing a better job at closing off a little bit more, being a little bit flatter on the inside shots from the French. They've had to be using that dynamic movement and motion to hit more of the open side channels in the latter stages of the first half, whereas in the early stages it was all about those break side, slinky inside break shots that kind of just opened up the field for them. So we'll see what happens in the second half.
We will do indeed, and just want to bring a little bit of news. It appears that, I don't know if they'll be on stream, they are hoping to do a coach's showcase at some point, so those people standing on the sideline might have to actually put their legs where their mouth are.
Did you bring your cleats, Harry?
Actually, I didn't, but
Does this mean we're going to have a barefoot coaches game, or like some kind of, which is I think probably wearing some trainers is better than kind of no cleats.
I ended up wearing trainers in my most recent tournament because my hamstrings are a little bit like, if you've ever had elastic that's quite frayed, that's basically the state of my hamstrings. I'm working with some quite good physios to try and fix it. But
I see, so maybe you shouldn't appear in the showcase coaches game.
Oh, it's fine if I'm in trainers. It's an odd thing I found.
Okay, just so you know, folks, if your physios tell you that you're not fully ready to play in cleats, you probably shouldn't play Frisbee.
I am a qualified doctor, just not that type, and my doctor's orders.
What kind of doctor are you, Harry Mason?
Medical imaging, so.
So you can see that your body is broken and torn, but you can't do anything to fix it.
I mean,
but that one is indeed going to be broken for sure. Melvin Brichet just a little bit overcooked in terms of the resetting pass. So a golden opportunity here for the Belgians. Panemans just hanging around at the back, but what a layout block that was! Just sending it out like a cannon. Joseph Delachat. Woo!
What a play. You come out of half, your team makes an error, you put the team on your back and say, nah, we're getting this disc back.
And again, it's a block on a reset pass, like the easy things, the things that should be really secure. The French just sit and they wait, just pouncing on every opportunity that they can. Goodness gracious me, like a coiled spring. And again, look at the flow in response. That one a little bit wobbly, a little bit high, but again, the French winning the battle in the sky, and it's going to be another on the stat board for Quentin Péchard. That's going to be his third goal of this game.
The Belgians, you're going to be kicking yourself there. That's almost worse than a clean French hold, which is they had a chance, but the handlers couldn't get free. Comparatively, the French handlers, it was a Belgian zone, but the French handlers were just managing to move it easily amongst themselves, take their time, and that means that you can look off that higher risk option up the field if you want to, whereas the Belgians may be being forced to take it because they're not going to be able to keep the disc among the handlers for 5 passes.
Yeah, a little bit of wobble on that final throw, but all fine and dandy. Melvin Prichet, of course, who is the reason for the turnover in the short field.
We could see there the Belgians were trying to direct the flow of play towards the right-hand side of your screens as it was there. France able to take that inside shot, and that meant that just the entire field was open up for them.
Let's go, Belgium! Let's go! Let's go, Belgium! Let's go!
The drum is back.
Let's go, Belgium! Let's go! Let's go!
We hear, let's go, Belgium, let's go. Can they answer the crowd?
It's going to be an out-of-bounds pull, so ideal field position to start for Wolf Palemans. Just seems to be tapping his head on the disc, trying to knock his brain box around, come up with some ideas maybe. But a zone from the French. So clearly that ambitious attempt at the pull to probably try and pin them on the far sideline, because they seem to be forcing towards the far of the pitch. But again, throwing through that cup results in a turnover. Again, De La Chat, disc in hand. Now, Evan Janot around to Akou. Bichet with the break response, and that is a beautiful pass to Nathan Lacoste. Really easy scenes, silky smooth for the French. And 10-4 now the scoreline, double digits.
So I'm a bit curious here because I've seen the Belgians take on the French zone a few times, and each time they've tried to break it by taking flat shots through the zone. If I didn't know this Belgian team had the hammers they did,
and the blades, and the blades.
And the blades. That might surprise me a bit. But there's a few ways you can deal with a zone. You can go through it, round it, over it, or past it.
Is it like going on a bear hunt?
Oh, absolutely.
Which, of course, if you don't know that reference, it's a reference to a famous children's book called Going on a Bear Hunt. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, recommended reading. Get it on your Goodreads. Or available at your local library.
Support your local libraries, folks.
Yeah. So I think there's a brilliant library app called Libby where I can get all the books or audiobooks from the library and download them on my phone. So sort of, if that encourages you to join your local library, go do so.
Anyway, we were saying, so going over it, under it, around it, through it for how you attack a zone.
But they've mainly been choosing through it, and maybe the Belgian player could have attacked the disc a bit more there. But maybe through it isn't the answer. We'll see here again, because guess what?
Through it is rarely the answer with a throw. Through it with your legs, when you're running through it, when you're crashing through the zone, that's how you go through the zone. Very rarely do you find those slicey, bladey shots consistently through the jaws of the defense. That's what they're trying to trap you into doing. But match defense now for the French D-line, coming out to try and grab another break here. That's a little bit of, is that a push pass into the path of Panemans? I think it was. And I kind of am here for it. De Kana with the reset. Really nice, just give and go. Trying to, again, change the angle of attack with a different sense. Easy layout. Keep possession for Staf De Kana. Just a little push off from saying to the mark, you're in my space, you're not now. Fakes off the hammer, allows the open around, and another layout grab for the Kana that caused the injury after getting a little bit too much contact, I think, from Clément Priot.
He tried to carry the team on his back, but that's a heavy weight to carry. On the other hand, though, he can be satisfied with a job very well done.
Let's have another look at that one in terms of the level of contact. Oh no, it's not. There's no contact at all.
Let's say I think it was just contact with the ground.
Yep.
Oh, and here we go. The second. Oh no, it's when he tries to get up. There's a little bit of a knock, but
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I saw two players getting up from the ground. They're quite close to each other. My memory does not completely deceive me, but there is a really good opportunity here for the Belgians. Oh, what a lovely inside flick, but just a little bit too low. Gallards does everything he can to try and redeem it, but I feel like the Belgians just need to take a couple more, have that confidence, take a couple more centering, resetting passes. Just wait for the opportunity to be a little bit nicer.
Just a few centering hammers to put their mind at ease.
Centering hammer, what a phrase. We love to hear it. Low one for Bouvard, but very well kept. Big around break to Martin. Decisive movement in front of the disc. Last minute just spot. Now exploiting the break side very well. The sideline screaming no break. That's going to be tipped off, but just not quite enough. That, folks, is why we talk about catching your D's. Quentin Péchard kept his eyes on the prize and ran it down even after the block attempt from Emile Willems.
I mean, you can see he got hit hard by that, and the French all giving him high fives to say, you did a very good attempt there.
Yep.
Sometimes a small touch is all you can get on it. Sometimes it's not possible to catch those.
Sometimes it's beneficial, and actually there's a really great blog from, which was based on a clip from Leuven earlier in the tournament, the Spring Invite, which Jet Set hosted absolutely fantastically. So this one, I think you do really have to go for the catch block. You can see it's a really great, and there was possibly an opportunity, because even if you're going for the catch block, you're going to get a bit more rip on the disc, try and really change the path differently. Whereas if you're going for the push block there's still quite a lot of room on the pitch, certainly in the end zone, for the disc to continue traveling.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where sometimes you play the games where you like to hit the disc to each other, you try and preserve the spin. Yeah, we call it Mac line. And so sometimes maybe if you play too much of that, you forget how to take the spin away, which is actually a really valuable thing. You know, you actually put your hand going the opposite way to the spin of the disc to try and disturb the motion.
But yeah, there's a really interesting, I don't know if you've read it, from Everyday Better Coaching, Ian French, who, if you've not found his blog, we'll send you there, because it's a really great way to increase your ultimate understanding and knowledge. But yeah, there was a moment in the Spring Invite tournament where there was a simultaneous catch discussion. So obviously in that moment it goes to the offensive player. So one of those rare moments where actually not going for the catch and going for the swipe block when you're really close to your mark and really hotly contested and you've got the angle of clearance, that's the moment where you don't catch your D, which is always a really interesting thing, where you would have been better off just putting your full momentum behind it rather than going for the catch.
It's interesting. It's a normal situation. If you're aware enough in the moment to go for that, then credit to you.
High level of Frisbee IQ for that kind of stuff, but that is what these players are going to become. You know, we've got some people who've already had 10 years of playing career, even at this tender under-20s division level. But yeah, it's just another way to think about it. But that presence of mind, you know, when your movement becomes more or less, what's the word, subconscious. Like great offensive lines, they play using a lot of their subconscious mind. But the Belgians out on offense again. The pressure that the French are putting on in the handler reset space is absolutely phenomenal. Maybe they need to do some exchanging of roles a little bit more to get themselves a bit further clear and make the French have to respect it. Turgenav. Easy flip pass. Belgians choosing to stay very close to each other, and it again causes a little bit of confusion. There have been some moments where the Belgians aren't really sure who's doing what, but a little bit of good rules knowledge there being offered by Axel Charrier, telling Juan Paré he cannot leave the disc after having walked so decidedly to it with no other person going for it. Paré. The pop, clearly some sort of travel call.
Some pick call upfield, I believe.
Good spot. But yeah, just that rules knowledge. You have to have, if you have only one player walking towards the Frisbee, you can do whatever you like as long as you're going a minimum of walking pace. You can slow up, you can slow down, speed up. But if you've committed, you have to continue going unless there is another player also moving towards that disc. Paré with the dad backhand up line. Charrier being well pinned. Such a big frame. High, lofty shot into the end zone. Pack underneath it of all white French shirts. And Axel Charrier is going to clutch that next point. So that is 12-4 now for the French. All 3 breaks. In fact, here's a fact for you, Harry. Every single break in this game that has been scored, and they've all been scored by the French, there have been taken on the first opportunity. There have been 0 turnovers that have come from breaks. So as in when the O-line for the Belgians have gotten it back off the D-line of the French, they've been able to hold. But every single break has been completely clean on the first ask.
I mean, at some point you have to ask, why is that D-line not on the O-line? You know, if they're able to score that easily every time.
I think we have been seeing some O-lines coming out and playing defense just by virtue of the fact that the French have started this game coming out on offense for 4 points total. So you do have to rotate through your players, keep people fresh, get those reps together. It is a concern actually in tournaments where you do maybe have a disparity between some of the teams. Maybe some of your opponents in the early stages are not going to test you and push you quite so much. So it's certainly a kind of, we have seen some of the O-lines coming out.
It's good knowledge and rotation from the coaches as well, because you may have a structure, but you're not going to get the most if you stick to that. And so you want to rotate a bit.
Completely random insight from the sideline. I have to say, Quentin Péchard's currently eating a blade of grass, kind of farmer style. Not sure what that's all about, but yeah, he's feeling very casual clearly out here on the pitches in Padova as the sun starts to emerge in true form. 12:30 local times. This game's had an hour of play. The Belgians coming out on offense. Moka with the bucket hat. This is the player gift at this youth championships. Extremely important to have your headgear on under this hot sun if you can. Nice movement through to De Slova. He's available for the reset. They choose upfield though, and it's the pressure once again put on by Melvin Brichet. Denies the pass.
I think again there's a little bit of a case where the Belgian players just standing still. If they attack the disc, maybe they stop 1 or 2 of those French turns.
Well, we got blocked in terms of our sideline view from the players, so I didn't actually realise that Brichet was all on his own making that layout bid. But it's become almost workmanlike for the number 72, who was the first player when we spoke to the French coaches that they said, yep, that's a player who brings a lot of energy into the game, but bringing a moment of pause here, calling the timeout.
Yes, I think that's probably, well, it's interesting because the French do feel in control right now. And so for the French to call a timeout, do you risk maybe giving the Belgians a chance to get their stuff together and at least get 1 or 2 more points on the board?
Well, we will find out what happens. Will it indeed be a turnout or a time over? Yet to be found. But for now, we're going to take a break here in the booth. Don't go anywhere, as the second half will conclude in a few moments.
Yes, he will.
The lovely did. Second half action. Pichet called the timeout for the French. Number 72 coming back from Montreal to play with his home nation of France. But the French having a great day at the office in this game, although that one's a missed opportunity, trying to hit Lionel Arco.
And I think both of them are a bit confused. A gust of wind taking it out, but
redeemed by Delachat. Looking for options. Nice easy upline, and this time they don't go for that secondary initial, but the upline cut from Joseph Delachat. Again, another to his stats tally. That will be 3 goals and 2 blocks for Joseph Delachat. He's been playing for 8 years. Although his age is currently 0 on our stats.
hold on.
So he's ageless. Maybe he's 20. I
Yeah, we'll see. Yes, cat-like reflexes from Delachat there.
You've been waiting to get that one in, haven't you?
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe. Well, there's no maybes as to who's going to go away with this game. I have to say, as much as it would be an absolute thriller to see the Belgians punch in 11 unanswered scores, I don't see them holding off the French, who only are 2 points away from another win in this tournament. Of course, we've talked about the overall results in terms of wins and losses so far, but the team that have pushed the French the closest so far in the Open Division have been the Germans. That was a universe point finish, 12-11 in the earlier stages.
Other than that, France have got to 15 in every game they've played, and we'll see. It would take a big thing from the Belgians here to stop that now.
Yeah, no tasty bagels just yet. Of course, the second highest tally was the Austrians, who went 15-9 down. Sweden 15-6. And of course, the Belgians looking to try and do a similar scoreline of their own. Fakes, and then the offhand backhand from Deslova. Love to see it. French coming out with a zone. Opportunity available. Scuba to open up the far side for Panamans. A little bit air bouncy on that backhand, but all fine because the wind had disappeared. Well, this is more like it. Don't know about centering hammers, but we're definitely getting centering scubas out here. Deslova with the gingery red. Looks to be some sort of mohawk action underneath that cap. Staying cool under the Padova sun. But a melt to match coverage now for the French. Can they continue to squeeze it through? Oh, that's a wobbly reset for De Force. But this is much better movement. Slova just squeezing off this upline. Great containment from the French coverage. It's really pinning the Belgians into this near side. Oh, I love that fake, and then the scuba over the top, or looked like. Couldn't quite catch it in terms of my eyes, but it was a cool pass. Tally's going to be high on this one. To Slova. Easy one straight through. Doesn't look for the immediate reset pass. So perhaps a slightly missed opportunity. Good movement though. Opens up the around. Mercy. Tries for Mercy. That could mean required of a... Is that greatest? Yes, it is! Oh my goodness gracious me, that was absolutely spectacular. But was he in bounds? Yes, he was! It's called good by the defense. Ismail Wanasong saying, yeah, that one worked out beautifully. Well, folks, we've seen a couple of Belgian greatest this season, and that one pays off.
I mean, we're going to want to see that again, so let's not waste any time. High stall count, getting near the end. Has to take a bit of a hidden hope option.
Yep, that's good. Oh my. I mean, I'm having reactions and feelings even just watching that replay, Harry. That was something a little bit magical, wasn't it? Well, Wolf Panemans, what an athlete, just 17 years old. He's already taken control so many times in this game for the Belgians. Played for the under-17s way back when. Says his sporting hero is Pieter Jan de Molenare. Well, that was Tobe de Krane all over it.
It was fantastic, and what I love about that point wasn't, I mean, the greatest was great, but for the Belgians, because they may not be throwing many more greatests, I mean, we'll see, the fact they were finally able to work against that French zone, they used some of the overheads, suddenly they looked a lot more threatening and a lot less stifled.
Yep. Well, as you say, Harry, it was all about those, not centering hammers, but centering scubas, that, you know, using the creativity. The flags have completely stopped in their tracks. There's not even a flutter in them. So clearly that one working beautifully. Well, I think Wolf Panemans might be filling in his surveys in future as a slightly different career highlight, but that's a beautiful shot on the far sideline. Atelier looking for options, has again acres of room for all these cuts, and eventually they found Emilien Evergenot for a second goal of this game for him. 14-5, match point number one of many for the French, but can they finish this one out on defense? Well, formally, because of course if they roll through many more of their match points, we might see their D-line out again. Yeah,
we'll see. But that's a good answer. Obviously there's been a bit of spectacular play there from the Belgians. They had some fancy plays and then the greatest, and the French just answered with, but we're quicker.
But we are faster than you. And this is us being faster than. I think that is the thing. It's just the attack and the commitment, I think, to the cuts. Because actually, the Belgians are no slouches. They have some really athletic players as well that have shown us that they can go toe-to-toe. But I think it's the conviction with which the French move that allows them to really get the separation in a different way.
Potentially also the fitness across the team. Sometimes we only focus on the fitness at the very top of the roster because they're the ones that have come out. But if player for player, 5 of your players are always going to get free, there's not much that any star player can do about that on defense.
So Wolf Panemans again coming out on the field, of course, having done some pretty fancy stuff so far this game, but it's a hand block, denial defense. That was so very intense. And Aku turning the disc over on Belgian end zone line. Picking us up, Jules Lamar. So this to take us into the final moment, and that indeed was very boring, but it's going to be called back on a travel.
Which itself, normally boring, but here makes it a bit more exciting.
It just means we get to get a bit more excited about the point. I think there's a discussion as to whether or not it's the fact that he's a lefty. It's a difference. But anyway, it's going back. Jules Lamar. Jules Lamar. And of course, sat there in quite a big pocket, Melvin Brichet. They choose a different one. Oh, and this time just snuck on that far sideline. It finishes with a whimper, not a bang. Simon Louis finishing off this game just miles away from his defender. Very quiet, waited for the moment, didn't make a big spoil and a big fuss, and I think that was pretty much the right way for that game to finish for the French.
Yeah, it's snuck behind enemy lines and was fully available. The Belgians wanting to put a couple of players on that danger shot that I'd already got once in a travel. Because of that, one player has to be free.
Yeah, you've got to have a little bit more activity from your sideline to communicate when those moments happen. Of course, you have to bracket the isolation play in the end zone. One-on-one is never a battle you're going to win, especially against the likes of Melvin Brichet. But it was a great battle from the Belgians. They tried and had some really fantastic moments. I think that greatest is probably one of the plays of the tournament so far, Harry.
I don't think that's controversial to say.
Oh, yeah.
I think we can say some controversial things, but a greatest being a great play.
Yeah,
well,
not the greatest game of the tournament by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly a great play and some fantastic scenes. The Belgians, of course, we said they had a mixed bag of results. That will be now 3 losses and 2 wins so far in this tournament, but the format is forgiving. There is still plenty of time to muscle their way towards the championship bracket, where they'll play some other very fine fettled teams indeed. But the French continuing their charge through this division. Final score 15-5.
I do think there's a lot the Belgians can take away from this. Like, sometimes you look at the scoreline, it's easy to get down yourself, but the ability they had to open up spaces against the French, those moments of really tough defense they had where they started to have that awareness, there's definitely moments there that if the Belgian coaches can work with the team, use those natural talents to the best of the team that they have, I think we could see some real strength out of this Belgian team in future. And I really hope that they can take that out of it as well. It is one of those things. We are at a junior tournament, and so sometimes you see plays like that, some of the big layouts we were getting, the big sprints. It's easy to forget these are still young players, they're still developing. And if you can have a strong mentality at a time like this, it's going to serve you such dividends.
Well, it's also a point of note, really, is actually, I think a lot of, in terms of the under-20s division, for the French, they have a lot of kind of the older players, a lot of experience from that silver medalist team from last year, whereas actually the Belgians have a lot of younger players. They have some 16 and 17-year-olds that actually could be playing in an under-17 championship, but up here stepping up to this level for under-20s. We're going to get a sideline interview with probably one of the players of the match for sure, Joseph Delachat, who's going to just sit himself next to me. Salut!
Salut!
Congratulations!
Thanks.
That was a fantastic game, especially for your good self. I mean, sort of your statistics-wise for us, 3 goals and 2 very, very big defensive blocks. How did it feel, that game, for you as a player?
I'm kind of surprised because I'm happy. First of all, I'm happy, and yeah, I'm proud of what I've done today. So yeah, 3 points, 2 defense. I'm surprised of myself too. So.
Well, I've never had a pleasure of watching you play before, Joseph, but I have to say that particularly that layout block that you got, that just when there was the short turnover and then you just like on the handler mark, it was beautiful. Really, really nice. So in terms of the line management, because in this game your team came out on offense 5 times the whole game.
Yep.
So were there moments where the offensive line were coming out on defense to play? How has that been so far? Because a lot of your games have been similar in terms of the difference between the scores. Are you an O-line or a D-line player?
I'm on O-line.
O-line.
And on the power line too.
So would you say you're getting enough play time?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of time. The fact that I'm on the D-line, on the power line, I can do both. So it's really good. It's great to play both sides, so that I can catch some disc on the zone and do some defense, and it's amazing. So yeah.
In terms of what your coaches were saying to you, what was the real focus for this game?
I would say make a lot of points in the quickest in the shortest
rapidement?
time. Yeah, rapidement. And oui, c'est tout.
Ça c'est tout, hein? D'accord. So then, what's been your favorite moment so far in this championship?
In this championship, I would say this game, and maybe against Germany, because it was such an intensive game. We won on the universe point, and this game was so, I would say, dramatic, because everybody was so tired, and every supporters were there. Everybody was screaming, and it was such an amazing game. But now we just hope to be on the finals, maybe against the Italian, and I'm pretty sure that it would be one of the best games that I have ever played in my life. I hope.
Well, we will definitely hope. There's still lots of tournament to play between now and the gold medal match later on in the tournament.
Yeah.
So do you have any messages for your fans watching back home? You can say in French if you like. In the drone.
Yeah, je veux dire bonjour à ma mère, à ma grand-mère aussi, et peut-être à ma sœur et ma famille. Et puis je vous fais des bisous de loin. Puis voilà. That's it.
And for those of you that don't speak French, it was saying hello to your mum, your grandmother, your sister, and all of your family. Lots of big kisses.
Yeah, big kisses. Yeah.
Which, of course, if you're not familiar with French, you know how many in your part of France. How many cheek kisses do you give?
Two. Yeah, classic.
The classic.
Basic.
The classic. The classic. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to watching many more of your games, and indeed, we'll see if you could get your career highlight in that gold medal match.
I hope.
Bon
Thank
chance.
you very much.
Thank you. So that will wrap us up for the action here today on our live stream. It's a quiet day for ULTI.TV. Harry rejoining me in the booth. Any final closing thoughts on this match, Harry?
It's so tempted to say Spirit is the ultimate winner whenever I'm asked for final closing thoughts, but I actually do want to highlight that. There was a little bit of physicality in that game, but both teams clearly comfortable with that level. It was a lot of respect between these athletes, which we love to see. They both represented their country well, and best of luck to them for the rest of the tournament.
Absolutely. So our final score here, 15-5. Looking at the stats of this game, the break chances that the Belgians had versus their ability to execute them, there weren't that many, and certainly the clean holds pretty even, Steven. So that, you know, in terms of the French, they really are a very dominant team. Of course, they got their silver medal at the World Joint Juniors Championship last season, and they have a lot of crossover on their roster. Well-deserved win for them. But in terms of the Belgians, we may well see them in the championship bracket yet.
Yes, we're going to be entering the power pool stages next, and I think Belgium have done enough to be in those upper power pools, in with a sniff of getting into a good bracket position, but they're going to have to work hard, or they're going to find the French again fairly early on.
Absolutely. Well, indeed, second spot in Pool B, currently the Germans, who indeed we already said in that sideline interview we had a sudden death loss against the French. So the teams to avoid potentially in the championship bracket. But that will wrap us for myself, Hannah Pendlebury, for Harry Mason, for Elliot, our stats keeper, and all of our hard-working ULTI.TV crew. We will leave you for now, but tune in again tomorrow. We'll be bringing you a full day of coverage starting at 9:15 sharp. So set your alarm clocks, folks. But we'll be back for more of the European Youth Ultimate Championships 2023.
Don't let me everything will turn down.
Thanks.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.